back again. Now, earlier in the programme, we got Len Gaynor to talk us through his players and their various qualities. Next, we're going to do the same with Clare. Now, again, I remind you that the teams have not yet been announced, so we've picked our own first 15 from the Clare panel. Gerlach Nan now talks about them.
Well, we have Davy Fitz, to my mind, one of the best goalies I've ever seen. You know, he has cat-like reflexes, a tremendous determination to win, and above all, a fantastic puck out. Allied to that, of course, he's our penalty taker as well, so he's a really valuable member of the team. Our backs in general, I suppose, as a unit, they're regarded as one of the best units in the game. And the anchor of that unit, of course, are our two central men, Brian Lohan and Sean McMahon. Two of the greatest players, I think, that have ever played the game. Our cornerbacks have often been criticised, and people have often said that they are the weak part of the team. But if you look at what Michael O'Halloran and Frank Lohan have conceded in the championship so far, between the two of them, in 4 championship games, they've conceded 3 points to their opponents. Our half-back line, of course, Anthony Daly and Liam Doyle, well known to everybody, 2 All-Stars. Daly being the captain of the team, the inspiration, I suppose, of the team. He has been the inspiration, the real central inspirational figure over the last 3 years. And Liam Doyle, one of the quietest fellas on the team, you know, rarely says anything. It's on the field that he expresses himself best. We all know Ollie Baker, his great power, his great commitment. He's the type of player who lifts the crowd, apart from lifting the team as well. Colin Lynch, he has been an absolute revelation. In every game we have played, he has been, I suppose, the second most important player we've had. You know, to bring in a young player like that and to see him producing such great displays has been very encouraging for everybody. James O'Connor, without doubt, I think he's the greatest forward the player has ever produced. His balance, his speed, his intelligence, the quality of his striking left and right, he's an absolutely central man to our plans. Fergie on his day is unbeatable. Like in the All-Ireland final in '95, he scored 4 points for us, which were the 4 points that won the All-Ireland. Conor Clancy the last day against Pat O'Neill produced the big surprise of the championship, but the quality of his distribution that day was excellent. We all know PJ, you know. I suppose since he cut his hair, people are thinking that he's not as good. A bit of the Samson effect there. Since he cut his hair in '95, he's not as good, but at the moment, he's in tremendous form. He has a tremendous burst of speed, and the quality of his striking has really improved. We have tried about 6 different players in the corners. The last day we had Niall Gilligan in the corner, and I think Niall did very well the last day. The Sparrow, for his strength and for his weight, and you imagine you could blow him away, but he has such incredible determination that is the thing that marks him out as a really great player.
OK, now I just want to emphasise once again that those 2 teams you saw put up there, they are not the official teams. OK, they are not the official teams. They're the Sunday game selection, particularly our producer Bill Lawler, who admits he isn't always right but claims he's never wrong. Tomás Mulcahy, James O'Connor, you heard the praise that was heaped on him there by his manager. Certainly he's been in superb form this year, but 2 years ago in the All-Ireland final, the occasion got to him.
Yeah, and that was a big occasion for all the Clare players especially, and that's the good thing about All-Ireland final day. I mean, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of build-up, there's a lot of after-match functions and dinners, but it all boils down to 70 minutes, and you've got to deliver goods on the 70 minutes. But up to now, he's been tremendous. I mean, he has had a brilliant game the last day. What I like about Jamesy, in the final 10 minutes, 15 minutes, he has a tendency to drop back into defence, into midfield. He picks up a lot of clearances, and he's a great man to carry the ball. There's a big engine inside him. He's something like the Roy Keanes. He's able to move and keep moving, and he's got tremendous ability to get points and long-range points at that. Starting off the championship, he has a tendency to miss a few chances as well. Yes. Chances that actually might put away the team. But I mean, I must say, over the last 2 or 3 games, he's been inspirational for Clare.
Well, Babs, you've been making the point to us that playing him centre forward is not necessarily a good idea.
Well, I regard James's best position at number 12. I think he's at his best, a bit like Michael Cleary coming into his right side. Go back to the Munster final. He with Fergal too, he missed at least 4 or 5 chances that would have put Tip beyond the point of no return. Now, Jamesy, I thought, coming in from the right. Now, you know, looking at the team they're talking about, I would think about playing him at number 10 again. Now he's going to be on Conall Bonner, who had a particularly good game against Wexford if they do that. And Conall dealt with Rory McCarthy, and I don't mean that in any. What happened in the second half was an accident, but up to that, Conall certainly had the better Rory McCarthy, who was an outstanding player of 96. So It just won't be. It won't be that easy for James. You know, it's All Ireland Day as against what happened up to now.
We also, Tomas, have to go back into the Clare defence and talk about them because, of course, they are such a powerful unit, all centred around Brian Lohan. I'm sure if you were a full forward going into this All Ireland final, you wouldn't be fancying this particular challenge.
No, the record stands for itself. Clare have lost one championship match in the last 9. They've conceded 1 goal in the last 3 matches. And as Ger Loughnane said there about the 2 cornerbacks, they don't get as much praise as maybe Brian Lohan or Shawnee McMahon. But they've been tremendous performers as well. And the 6 knit together very, very well. If one guy is not performing as good as the other on the day, they knit together very well. They play as a team together, and they're well marshalled. And Anthony Daly must take a lot of credit for that. They're well marshalled in defence. But the outstanding performer, I have no doubt, as you said, has to be Brian Lohan. I mean,
so how would you mark him? How would you play him?
How would I play? I would like to see somebody with more strength because to me he's getting out of the square too easily and clearing balls down the field. I think Tipperary would have learned a lot the last day. Putting Michael Cleary on Brian Lohan the last day below on Parky Queeve was a mistake.
Yes.
He lowered it from there. He lowered it the last day again against Wexford, and not taken away from Brian, he is a tremendous player. He's probably one of the best fullbacks in the game at the moment, and it's a big task. And that's why I said early on in the programme, who Tipperary play full forward next Sunday is going to have a big bearing on it.
Okay, yeah. Well, the rivalry, of course, that has built up between Clare and Tipperary in recent years has been well documented, but some people can feel that rivalry a little bit more keenly than others. Now, those who live in the bordering communities. Bishop Willie Walsh of Killaloe is well aware of that. The former Clare selector spoke recently to Marty Morrissey from the picturesque and opposing parishes of Ballina and Killaloe.
I'm really looking forward to a marvellous sporting occasion, and I think there would be tremendous rivalry across, and it's always the same on the border of counties. And I know well from Roscrea, I was quite near the Offaly border, and there would be tremendous rivalry between Tipperary and Offaly. And certainly there would be tremendous rivalry here across the bridge between Killaloe and Ballina. They're just separated by a bridge. They're 2 different counties. They're 2 different parishes. They're 2 different dioceses. All the things that are important to both sets of people are different. So obviously there's going to be great rivalry and a lot of slagging. And you can be quite sure that if Clare win, the Killaloe lads will go across the bridge on Sunday night and they'll be slagging the Ballina lads. And equally, if Tipperary win, I have no doubt there'll be an invasion from Ballina across the bridge into Killaloe. In fact, I find myself in the extraordinary position that the last time I was a Clare selector in 1994, and Len Gaynor was manager of the Clare team, and Ger Loughnane was another selector. So some people say both of them have done very well since they got rid of me. But
you haven't done too bad yourself.
I suppose, I would know all the Clare team. I would know all of them personally, taught a number of them in school, was involved with them at colleges level, at minor level, under 21 and senior. So with that familiarity, I think my leanings would, I'd have to admit publicly, my leanings would be with Clare.
Having worked with Ger Loughnane and Len Gaynor, give me an insight into the way they would approach this All-Ireland final.
I'm sure that Ger will be emphasising, I suppose, he'll be emphasising the Munster final and saying that, we want to repeat that again. We want to show that at this stage that we are a better team than Tipperary, and we want to repeat that again. And while there has been a little bit of, I suppose, rivalry and at times mentioning words like arrogance and that sort of thing, there is, Clare would have had a tremendous urge, I suppose, to beat Tipperary. I think also he'll be emphasising the need, I think, to come out with the sort of tremendous spirit, what I'd call in some way controlled fury, that they came out with in the Munster final and against Kilkenny. I mean, their first 20 minutes against Kilkenny in the semi-final was absolutely marvellous, and it was what I would describe as controlled fury, but really, absolutely going for everything, moving the ball fast. And he'll be looking for, Ger Loughnane will be looking for a repeat of that. Len Gaynor, Len will be surely saying, right, we were beaten by 3 points in the Munster final, And surely we have improved since that, because there's every evidence that Tipperary have improved since the Munster final. You know, you do use all sorts of things, or even what the other manager has said, or what somebody has said, or you know, you wouldn't be above, indeed, at times concocting something and saying, you know, well, I was down such a place today, and so said to me, and you put on a nice rage at that insult, and but it's all part of the fun and part of the motivation and that sort of thing.
You never did this, of course, yourself when you were a Clare selector.
I wouldn't have dreamed. I wouldn't have dreamed of doing that, indeed. But you would, of course, you'd be always watching for the papers, what the papers were saying, and you know, you wouldn't be above having a go at a reporter and sort of. You know, you wouldn't be above saying, you know, what does Marty Morrissey know about the game anyway? What right has he to say that about, you know, that sort of thing? And that's all part of the game of motivation.
Yeah, well, what does Marty Morrissey know about it anyway? That's what we all want to know. Tomás Mulcahy and Babs Keating, let's look for a moment at this rivalry, okay, that has been well documented, as I said, over the last couple of weeks and seems to have an edge to it, Babs, at the moment. Do you think that will give us an All-Ireland final with a slightly razor edge to it?
I think you'll see a few hurleys broken in the first 20 minutes now, to be fair. There has been a hype, and like Len would be the type of player in the past that he'd be breaking hurleys himself, and I think he'll be imparting a lot of that and some of that onto the present Tipperary team. And I think he'll need to with the strength of the Clare backline.
Well, he's talked about, you know, since he took over as manager, bringing this bit of steel to Tipperary.
Okay, I suppose my time as manager, I've been criticised about not having enough steel in it, but I'll argue that about the 91 All-Ireland campaign with as much steel as you would get any place along the way between Limerick, Galway, Cork and Kilkenny in the final. So this is a bit of a myth, really, because you're depending on the 15 players to go out in the field, and steel to me isn't much good unless the scores go over the bar and a few balls into the net as well. And it's immaterial who win the fight on Sunday. If there is to be a fight, it's about who bring home the McCarthy Cup. And that's of prime importance, like to all Tipperary people at the moment, and certainly all Clare as well.
Bishop Willie Walsh there, Tomás, talked about controlled fury. Wonderful idea, that. How do you do it?
It's a hard one to kind of, I mean, when you're in the dressing room with 5 minutes to go before the throw-in on Sunday, before you run onto the field, I mean, to control your fury. I mean, guys are really going to be psyched up for this one. I mean, it's All-Ireland final. No matter what occasion, Munster final, Munster Championship match, players will never witness what they're going to witness next weekend. I mean, it's a tremendous occasion.
What type of match do you think it's going to be?
Everybody expected the Munster final to be exactly the same way. I mean, you had a huge Clare and Tipperary support in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Everybody expected the first 20 minutes, hurleys broken, players in millies and things like that, and that never materialised. All-Ireland final day is a big, big occasion. The 70 minutes can bypass players before they know they're actually in the game, you know, and there will be players on next Sunday, I have no doubt about it, and things won't go right for them. Guys will have brilliant games. Once it's a good game of hurling, Michael, that's the main thing. I mean, in a situation, if it's good and it's hard and it's fair, and we've seen some very, very good hurling this year already. We've seen some hard hurling, but once it's fair, I think everybody will enjoy the day.
Right, well, for Tipperary, this summer has taken them on a long and winding road to the All-Ireland final. Their opponents, Clare, have done things a bit more conventionally. Well, let us look back right now on Clare's side of the championship draw.
Clare began their championship programme with an expected win over Kerry. They settled fast against Cork. However, the Lees-siders proved tougher opponents.
O'Connell. Timmy Keller is the player who's chasing. Brian Corcoran in next to try and dispossess him. Support outside from Colin Lynch. And it's Anthony Daly who swings it in, however, and Anthony Daly has got the point. Towards the Sparrow, knocked down instead there by Fergal Ryan. That's the other Fergal, McCormack. This is Shonny McGrath. Slight of stature, but a real tricky operator. And that's a great score. A fine individual point by Shonny McGrath, Glen Rovers and Cork. Cork's first score. David Ford trying to release the ball there towards Gerald Loughlin, who's still very much part of the action. The players to go over, Conor Clancy and Niall Gilligan, and that shot's gone over the bar. Very good start for the Sparrow at the start of the second half. Brown just trying to deny him space. But out he comes, McMahon, right centre half back. Out only as far as Alan Cummins, 45 metres out. Cummins with the shot. And as the ad goes, this man can level whole counties in 1 second flat. And they're level for the first time at 11 points apiece. PG O'Connell, inside it goes. Gerald O'Loughlin, the Sparrow, injured. The ball is left there. Here come Clare. Great chance! And that's it, surely!
One of Clare's later opponents, Kilkenny, faced Dublin in June. The game was interrupted for 9 minutes when a section of the crowd from the new stand was moved out onto the pitch. It looked chaotic, but everything was thankfully under control. When the game resumed, Kilkenny left it late before securing victory.
Phelan runs on inside to Delaney. Snapshot, and it's going to net. PJ Delaney looks bemused. He was going for a point, but they know where they finished. Philly Larkin dropped in towards DJ Carey, rises up for it, and he's got another! DJ has turned this match around with the help of PJ Delaney.
In the Munster final, Clare made much the better start against Tip. The only cause for concern being a tendency to fade in the last 15 minutes.
Davy Fitzgerald. Butler is in underneath this one, but Ollie Baker there as well. Kept it moving to PG O'Connell. First shot for Clare. First point for Clare. PJ O'Connell from O'Callaghan's Mills. Onto the Sparrow. Holding it up for Jamesy to come onto. They got a man over PG O'Connell once again. You wonder where's Ramey Ryan. Closing in very quiet, very slowly. There was a trip over by Colin Bonner. Referee says, let's play on. And the Sparrow does, and he puts it over. Gleeson, Tipperary's captain, chasing after Jamesy O'Connor, almost winning possession there was the Sparrow. Jamesy has it, here comes Jamesy O'Connor, short in the grip of the stick, and he knocks it over the bar in impressive fashion. That's a wonderful score, a second point for Jamesy. Caught well by John Lahey, beating the attempted block. He really forcefully hit that one and it drops over the bar. Good point by John Lahey. Up towards Gerald O'Loughlin, taking no shee on a tour of Torquay Queeve. The Sparrows going by over the head of Michael Ryan on towards Ford, and the referee sees them. Cracks to the net. David Ford. Nicely outside to Cleary once again. Just steadying himself. Great block down by Anthony Daly. Comes back to Cleary once more for Tipperary, and he's content to tap it over the bar. A late point for Tipperary. A goal between the teams.
Arguably the match of the year was the quarter-final tie between Kilkenny and Galway. The Cats were down 9 at half-time, but won by 2, with DJ scoring 2-8.
Down towards Justin Campbell, that's wonderfully caught. Andy Comerford is chasing after him, trying to dispossess the number 10. That's a wonderful individual score by Justin Campbell. Cathal Moore preparing to take this one. He gives it plenty of length. Towards Joe Cooney. PJ Delaney now. They wait inside for it as he goes off on a solo run once again. The hand pass towards Michael Phelan. Titch with the shot. And Titch with the score. Philly Larkin getting it into Michael Phelan. DJ Carey. Buzz of expectation when he gets it. Carries it on and he scores. Willie O'Connor out by Eddie as well. Next it's Dan O'Neill to the unmarked Andy Comerford. Huge one downfield. DJ's in there waiting. A goal! DJ Carey. Brilliant. This is a superb match.
In the semi-final, Clare faced Kilkenny and had the measure of the Leinster runners-up.
James O'Connor, great bit of dash. Wonderful movement and another very good point. Into Conor Clancy, hoping to make an impression at centre half forward. Good movement here, O'Connell, actually across here. Chance for Higgerty. Oh, it's stopped, it comes back out to the Sparrow, and it's finished. What a great start for Clare. DJ Carey trying to advance. Still DJ on the ground, great ball to Charlie Carter. Ryan Lohan getting back goal side, Charlie to take it at him. The angle awkward, but he makes little of it, and it's a wonderful score by Charlie Carter, his first of this match. We're now 27 minutes into the first half of the Guinness All-Ireland semi-final. Kilkenny trailing by 4 points. Here comes DJ. Great save by Davy Fitzgerald. A wonderful penalty save. Clare breathe a sigh of relief. Again, they send diagonal balls across here. Picked up here with Niall Gilligan, hoping to knock it over the bar. That's a fine score. Conor Clancy, strongly built fellow outside towards Jamesy O'Connor. On his left-hand side, very much his trademark in the past. It is again. Jamesy performing his party piece in Croke Park. Back by Baker. PG O'Connell, half blocked there by Dan O'Neill. The hand pass inside was intended for Pat O'Neill, but instead it's PG O'Connell on the left-hand side. Usually a good place for him to come to strike to score. O'Connell's first point.
Yes, well, I suppose, barring an outbreak of some terrible virus in Clare over the next couple of days, Tomas, the goalkeeper out to number 9 probably picks himself in this team. What about the formation of the forward line, though?
Yeah, I suppose down in Clare, I suppose all the forwards that are potential to be played next weekend will be waiting anxiously for the team announcement, because Conor Clancy came on the last day and he did a tremendous job as centre forward. We go back to the Munster final when the team went out in the field that day. They made various switches. They put Fergal Toohey was playing that day and Conor Clancy wasn't. Fergal Toohey came in off the wing to centre forward. PJ O'Connell went out on the wing on Rémi Ryan, you know. So they make a lot of switches in the forward division. You have Gerard Loughlin moving to full forward.
Give me the first 6 then.
Fergal Haggerty was taken off the last day, so I would think Fergal Toohey is going to start. Where he starts on the day, to me, is debatable at this stage. But I'd say Conor Clancy has done enough to hold his place. So you're going to have Jamesy O'Connor, Conor Clancy, in the half-forward line. You're going to have maybe Fergal Haggerty to lose out on this occasion.
Babs, would you see it similar?
I would, but I can't help thinking that they'll play Jamesy on Liam Sheedy, because they'll see Liam as more vulnerable than Conor Bonner, and they're depending on Jamesy to a greater degree than any other forward.
Yeah, sure.
So apart from that, maybe those two changes, they'll have a problem with PJ O'Connell if they do play Conor Clancy's in the forward, which I think they will too. But PJ O'Connell has never played right half forward, to my mind, before.
They're getting good hurling out of PJ O'Connell, mind you, this year.
They did, but they picked a team with a purpose in Cork in the Munster final. Like, they played PJ, especially to Mark Rémi Ryan, and he did a superb job because he put Rémi out of the Tipperary team since then.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, but like, he's not, well, he's a score maker, he's not a score getter.
Sure. Well, now, 2 players who Tip fans who will be hoping play an important part in next Sunday's final are Colin Bonner and John Lahey. Bonner has missed most of the hype surrounding the final because he now plays his hurling in County Waterford. But for John Lahey, playing Clare holds a special significance. Now, he would be hoping to make up for 1994 when he missed Tip's hurling campaign through an injury he sustained playing football for the county against Clare.
Telling me that I was going to get injured playing football, but I don't know, I was feeling good, and like at that time I got on very well with the footballers, you know, and I had a lot of training done with them, and you know, it's just probably the thing to do, but it didn't work to our well, we were good anyway.
There's a lot of interest down in Waterford about the game, but it definitely brings me away from the likes of an awful lot of people coming up asking me what's going to happen here, how do you think the game's going to go, and you might win it easy, you might lose it this kind of way, and it kind of it doesn't set me. I can focus better, I think, down in Waterford.
Stopped well there by John O'Connor, and he connected with the face of John Lahey accidentally.
You know, I'm very lucky. There are just 2 fractures, there are 2 hairline fractures in it, and you know, there's no major damage or there's no displacement of the joints or anything, so like, it's healed great. You know, I was disappointed to come off, but like the result kind of covered up all that, you know, and we have another day out in the All-Ireland, so, you know, we'll be looking forward to that day.
We've been very lucky from when I started out in '87. We've won a fair few Munster medals. We've won 2 All-Ireland. We've beaten in a few as well, like, but we take the good and the bad together. But I'd say I definitely had more success than disappointments. And we had some great trips to the States and all over the place, and great team morale. And it's been a wonderful 12 years for me.
Everyone's disappointed with the Munster final defeat, you know. A lot of us went out that day and we didn't perform to our full ability, and, you know, it was very disappointing. We got a chance at the end of it and I missed it, and, you know, we're after getting a chance to redeem ourselves, and we done it again Wexford, but, you know, we still have nothing won. You know, we have to win something to make it a good year, and, you know, hopefully the All-Ireland, that'll be our day.
The Munster final this year, I had a terrible performance, and those kind of displays, you kind of say, why bother going on when you had so much success when you were younger, and but I just couldn't finish on that kind of a note. Like, I have to go out and try and prove to myself that I'm able to do it one more time.
This time it's a little bit calmer. I think you'd even notice it among the Clare players after we beat Kilkenny in the dressing room. Maybe you were in there. There was a sense of achievement, but not a wild sense that we'd made the final. I mean, there's a real sense that we want to win the All-Ireland this year, and I think the people that has filtered through to the people as well. And I think everyone sees that this is the last fence to be jumped now, and that we're determined to try and win it.
We've had 2 or 3 years together since the All-Ireland. This is our 2nd year now after it, and things seem to be going reasonably well. We're working better as a unit, probably, so I think altogether as a unit we've improved, you know.
As a panel of players, we would certainly feel that we've nothing to prove. That, you know, in Clare we've only won 2 All-Irelands, and we've won one of them, and now we're in another All-Ireland final, and we've won 2 Munster finals in 3 years. So we have nothing to answer to anybody else, and people might be putting pressure on the panel that you have to win this game, and, you know, there's plenty of rivalry now between Clare and Tip, and I'm sure the Tip panel are getting the same thing from their people. But we feel we've nothing to prove, really. We're going out to win it, and we're determined to win it.
I think they are a very good defence. Probably the best I've ever had in front of me anyhow, and it's great to play behind them, to tell you the truth. And we've only one more day, and hopefully things will go right for us, you know. But whether they do or they don't, like, they're certainly probably the best defence at the round, you know.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
I was talking to our people about our people, and that's my angle on it anyway, and other people want to interpret it other ways. I suppose that's their own prerogative, but that's the way I'd feel on it.
You can look at it from maybe Tipperary's point of view. They're delighted that they're in an All-Ireland final after losing the Munster final. And you have to say they're there on merit. They beat a very good Wexford team, and they were good champions, and certainly it will be tough to beat them, but in saying that, we're in an All-Ireland final, and we'll want to win it no matter what.
We started this year to win the All-Ireland, and we're determined now to finish the job, no matter who we're meeting in the final. And even if it was Wexford or Galway or anyone else, it would be a huge battle in the All-Ireland final to try and win it. And we're ready for it. We've prepared hard for it, and we're going out to win a hurling game, and that's the way we're looking at it.
Yes, it is, of course, a big week for both sets of players. And on that note, Tomás Mulcahy, talk me through this week coming up now for the players and what they're going through and how it used to affect you.
Always there's a big hype. I mean, when you get to All-Ireland final stage, there's media nights, there's pressure at work, tickets, you have players or people looking for tickets, and when you finish up in baby training on a Wednesday or Thursday night, I used to always find the hardest was until you met the players again, maybe on Saturday coming to Dublin by train, because you're at home, maybe you were cranking yourself at times because like the pressure was building up. Once you met the panel of players, I used to always feel at ease then, right on. You come to Dublin on a Saturday night, you're able to relax. We'd maybe go to Shelbourne Park to the dogs, win or try and lose a few pounds, you know. And there were some great stories coming out of those nights, you know. I can always remember when we went to Shelbourne Park first, and I mean, we would have known nothing about dogs, and Jimmy Barry Murphy was into the greyhounds at the time, you know, and you'd be looking for a tip from Jimmy and say, Jimmy, who's going to win the next race, you know, and he would say the black dog. But could be three black dogs racing in the race at the time, we wouldn't know, you know. So, but I mean, that was relieving the pressure for us. You're out of the hotel scene. I've noticed, like, the likes of Clare and Tipperary over the last number of years have been waiting until the Sunday morning to come up, which means players are staying at home themselves that night before, which does relieve an awful lot of pressure. But the worst thing I always found was getting up on the Sunday morning and you're waiting for the game to start. There is a long period. You're waiting aside in the dressing room door, and Brabs probably knows that himself. I mean, there's nothing going to hold you back. As soon as you're told, lads, you've got to go out in the field, that's the time to perform, you know. Because guys going away on a Saturday night and things like that, you've always had the thing that we would wait on a Sunday morning, we'd be down in the hotel in the lobby and you'd hear a story, God, I didn't sleep a week last night. And the reason being was probably somebody next door was up at 5 o'clock in the morning hitting the ball off the wall. He was so nervous himself. And we had those occasions, I must say, you know. And when you look back in those They're great stories now, but I mean, these things did happen. But I
Yes.
mean, at the end of the day, that's all part and parcel of the game. How you handle those situations is the big thing. How you handle the press, how you handle the build up to the final. Because the key thing that you've got to remember is you've got to perform in the 70 minutes, and that's what people will look at.
OK, well, next here on the programme, we're going to hear from the opposing managers. Two men who, of course, know each other so well, having worked together in the Clare managerial setup for a couple of years. Well, they've been renewing acquaintances again this summer, and we spoke to them in the context of their Munster final meeting and from Len Gaynor's point of view in the context of having lost that match.
When you lose a big game, you have to have a look and see, well, what did go wrong. And we looked around at a number of players. We were fortunate enough to have a league quarter-final that we could try out, and a league or an All-Ireland quarter-final also against Down. And we put in some new players there to see how they would go. And we had to find new players and see how they would respond. And we think now that we have the right blend got together for this final.
It's not a repeat of the Munster final. It's a totally different game to the Munster final. It's a different venue, first of all. It's a smaller pitch. It's a narrower pitch. It's a different time of the year. The ball won't be moving quite as fast as it was in the Munster final. Munster final was a very hot day. The field was really big and really fast, and that suited Clare. Now, Croke Park, people would argue, won't suit Clare as well as that because it's a later time of the year. The pace of the ball will be a bit slower, and we're up against a totally different Tipperary team. They're a much more physically strong team, and I think Croke Park suits this Tipperary team more than any other team in the country at the moment. So I don't know whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage that we played them last day. What it is, it's different. It's a different game completely. It's a new game, a new challenge for us, a new challenge for Tip, and it's a game where everything rests on the result, and that's the way it should be.
We had to look at a number of things that didn't go right in the Munster final. And our approach, I suppose, wasn't all it should have been in the Munster final. So we tried to get the players focused a bit better. We tried to improve their ball skill, also their first touch, and we tried to emphasise getting the ball into the square much faster. And a few things like that. You can't do all too much, you know, leading up to big games, but all you can do is try and improve the small things, and hopefully that everything will come right in on the day.
If we lose this All-Ireland, we'll have been beaten by a great team. A really great team, and whether they come in a back door, front door or down the chimney, it won't matter. They'll be a great Tip, will be a really great team if they beat us in this. We are prepared for this like never before, in every way. And the incentive, of course, is there for us to beat Tip twice in the championship, something they have never done to Clare. If we can beat them twice in the championship, that's a massive incentive for us. We are really ready, we are really looking forward to the occasion. I think it'll be a tremendous game that'll go right down to the wire. And the hop of the ball, the bit of luck on the day could be what decides it.
Yes, no lack of incentive for either side going into this match. Babs Keating, let me take you to the manager's week leading up to the match. And from your own recollections, what kind of a week is that?
It depends on who you're facing in the kind of game. I worried a lot coming up to the last final in '91 because of our opponents being Kilkenny. And any time you play Kilkenny in the final, you have to worry. But it's a bit like a business, it's a bit like doing exams. If your preparation is good and you're happy with it, and you can pick the team and you can say to your colleagues and selectors, we've done our best, you can say all your preparations are in order. All you can say is we've done our best and let the best team win.
OK, Babs, obviously you're a Tipperary man, but you are living in Dublin, so you have a certain remove from the county at the moment. Are they going to win the All-Ireland? Can you talk freely?
I will. I've always spoken freely, Michael, and to my detriment at times. And I'm going to take a chance with Tipperary. Now, it's going to be a reluctant chance, but I'm going to take it because of a number of things. And number one, I think Tip had a good victory over Clare in the league, which is an important occasion. I think they failed in the Munster final, but they had a good few excuses for that. I don't believe they should have played Colin Bonner on Munster final day. I don't think Michael Daly should have been played full forward. Since then, they've regrouped, they've come in the back door, but there has been nothing more positive about Clare. I think Tip are going to play the same Clare team that they saw on Munster final day.
So you're going for Tip? And Mos Mulcahy is going for?
Yeah, well, I've said all along that Clare have impressed me greatly this year in this championship, and I'm not going to back down from now at this stage. I'll stick with Clare. OK, well, our time is almost up here on this preview programme. But there's hardly any need to tell you that there will be plenty more in the way of build-up to the big match here on RT television during the week. In particular on Sideline View on Thursday night and again on Sports Stadium next Saturday. Now, let me also remind you that the Sunday game will be with you later on tonight. In that, we'll be featuring today's All-Ireland Camogie finals and also the All